Hey guys, I'm Will. Today we're going to be covering everything rifle. Let's get after it. We've covered a lot on handgun setups, handgun equipment, accessories, training, all of that. I think it's time we give our actual rifles a little bit of love. So let's start with my two main rifles. I have a few others that are just like this for classes in case students have a gun that goes down or they want to try these particular rifles. This is how I have mine set up most of the time, and now we're going to dive into it. The main platform itself is an LWRC ICA5 12-7. These 12-7 rifles are piston driven. I'm a big fan of them. They've been lightened over the years and are probably the flattest shooting guns I have ever shot in my life. There's not anything that has touched them yet. Maybe one day somebody will beat them, but right now there's nobody on the top of the hill but them. This particular model is a Will mod. This is a signature rifle we did back in 2022 and 2023. It is the same rifle, just with some furniture that comes with it that I run normally. Now, this obviously is my work rifle. This is my training and competition or gaming rifle. Now, there are going to be complete differences in them when it comes to the resources that have to be on top of them. But other than that, they're the same platform. So when I'm training with one, I'm getting the same benefits of training with the other, except I'm not wearing and tearing stuff that is used strictly for work. Now, I do train with this with our department. I do train with this when I'm doing night vision stuff, or when I need to kind of rep a few things with new resources that go onto it. But other than that, I'm not putting thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds every few months on this one as much as I am this one that I constantly get rebarreled. There's major benefits to having this, and you don't have to have two rifles that are doppelgangers of each other. You don't have to have two rifles that train a lot and train well. This is just something I've chosen to do because I like them. I want to run my competition rifle as close to my work rifle as I can and my training rifle. So let's start with first the work rifle. Again, 12-7 ICA5 is the rifle itself. So from the front, I currently have the Hux Flow 556K suppressor on it. I like these a lot. I've been running these since they came out. Big fan of them. Have been testing a lot of the new Silencer Co stuff and testing the Able Co. They're both phenomenal, and I will be gaming them a lot more in the future and probably be swapping out to the Silencer Co's on these two to test their flow-through tech, which is pretty impressive. But working our way back, I have the Mod Light OKW with clickers. I don't run pressure pads on most of my stuff because I've had pressure pads fail me operationally, and that kind of came back to bite me, and I'm not a fan of that anymore. So I go straight direct to source for my laser, direct to source for my light, and I haven't had a problem since. Now again, that's my preference. You don't have to. There's a lot of guys that swear by the Surefire or swear by everything else. It doesn't matter. If it fails me once or twice, it's it for me, I'm done. So I go back to the traditional, and this is mounted on the LWRC proprietary mount. So it's a scout mount and a pick mount. It just saves me a lot of real estate and puts it in the really good spot. Moving our way back, I have a Wilcox Raid XE. This is their government model for a visible and IR spectrum laser that we use for work. Big fan. It is my favorite laser. My opinion, it's the best one that's currently on the market. I love it. I have LWRC's heat pads that are on the rails themselves because, you know, they'll get warm after a while, especially when training. Not that important for work because that round count isn't the same for work as it would be for training, but I still prefer the feel. Now we're going to work our way back here to the optic mount system itself. So for the optic on this rifle, I am running the lead steel Pandora, so the PB3. This says it's a 3 MOA, but the dot is incredibly small and tight, so I really like it a lot. It is zeroed at 100 yards. My laser is converged at 100 yards. That's my preferred zero, especially for an optic that is on a higher mount per se, a 226, which these days is lower than normal, but for that setup with divergence, I want to have 100 yards. I love this dot. It is the largest micro dot window, tightest emitter. I really love this program. I love what they've done, and we're testing a pretty special one on the competition gun right now. So anyway, the lead steel PB3, I love it to death. I run a 226 optic height mount. This is a Castle 226 for this particular rifle, only for the fact that I have to use a thermal to clear my laser. If I was to run it at my normal favorite, which is like 193 or, you know, lower 1/3, I wouldn't be able to get it to clear my laser. So I run my optic height on this particular rifle at 226 to give me clearance over this laser. Now this is a Wilcox flip to side mount. This is their dovetail that I use for the thermal. And on the bottom of the thermals, they each have their own proprietary dovetail mount that attaches right to it. And like I said, all I do is click the button and flip it all the way over to the side when I want it out of the way. But if we're going somewhere where I have the assumption that there's going to be some wood line or the chance for someone to squirt off, then I'm going to have it on and ready to go in this position. And then if we have to use it, I just simply summon it over to my optic plane and I'm done. Now, in order to use this clearly with a red dot, I can't just have it in front because my field of view would be so small, I wouldn't really get a benefit of it. I run a 3x magnifier in the back that I just pull up, and that way this magnifier pulls me through that glass and into my passive thermal, and now I get that field of view that I need. This is really beneficial. I like it, and it's worth the extra weight for me because yes, this is a weight add and this is a weight add significantly, but I see the benefits much higher than the risk of it being heavy. We're men, we can just go to the gym and work out. So when it comes to the optic mount height, it's really important to make sure you have exactly what you need and want, not just what you see someone else running. I prefer a lower optic mount like a 193 or lower 1/3 because I get a great cheek weld. But because I have a long face, I can run a 226 and have the exact same cheek weld as I would the 193 and still get the effective performance I need to clear resources. Meaning my IR laser and my thermal are not interrupting each other. They are kind of in harmony, clearing each other, no problems. So a 226 riser is not affecting my connection to my rifle in my shoulder and my arm and my support hand guiding it or my cheek weld getting my sight picture. At no point is this affecting or breaking down or compromising it. A lot of times guys get super bent out of shape on social media and online because of optic heights. And that's kind of silly. Guys, run what you love, run what you like, run what you prefer, just train with it, perform at a high level with it, don't listen to anybody else. It's okay if dudes get mad and start punching air and start tagging you. At the end of the day, their sphere of influence is a small screen. Simply turn it off and go shoot at a high level. They're irrelevant to you. I run 226 and 193 because it is resource-based or necessity-based. We're all professional end users here. Run what you want, have a good time with it. So that pretty much covers my aiming devices from laser to red dot to passive thermal to magnifier. That pretty much covers the top of the gun. Now if we go to the side, some of the small subtle things, I have a Faro Concepts Picatinny mounted QD sling mount that goes right here. I prefer my slings to be as close to the receiver as possible. I've run it every way imaginable, but I really prefer it as close as possible. I get a lot of mobility with that. I can run with the rifle, stow the rifle a certain way, and not get caught up, and I don't get that sling drag around my neck. The sling is a burn-proof gear, Shy sling that we designed together. Big fan of it. And we will talk about these charging handles on another date when they're more publicly available. Right now, these are being tested. We'll get into those later. Fire controls, I have LWRC, and then I have Geisley Super Dynamic flat face triggers. They're my favorite. I love them. Furniture is all Magpul, the K2 grip, and the DT stock. I'm a big fan of it. For sling management, on the back side, I have my sling set up in a generous position. It's a little bit wider to where I can swim in with my plate carrier or no plate carrier. It is managed around the back side with a piece of bicycle tire tube I've cut to 1-inch web like this. I run it on the stock and then I just pull my sling through the back side and wrap it. That way, if I need it, I can just grab the sling and pull and it comes loose. It's pretty easy. For the most part, that covers this rifle. Now aesthetically, you're gonna notice on the left side of the rifle, you're gonna see an orange and pink paint mark. Think of that as somewhere for my eye to fixate on and focus on in the process of a reload very quickly. It's happening very fast. I'm staying connected to the rifle. My eyes can land there and my hand delivers the mag to that exact spot. Same thing as target focus, same thing we do for the handgun is happening on the rifle. Big shocker, it's the same principles, same outcomes. Now let's talk about the competition gun and the similarities. So no longer need this dapper little clapper. We're gonna bring this boy over here. At the end of the day, it's the same platform. This is still the 12.7 ICA5 piston-driven LWRC rifle, except now I don't need, for competition and for training, I don't need all the other resources of a thermal. I don't need a laser. I don't need anything except really a white light if we're teaching low light and a suppressor for when we're shooting on the range. A lot of times we're blowing out suppressors for companies to test them, so we're burning these things apart. Aside of that, it's nearly the same rifle. The only difference is my optic height is going to be slightly lower because I don't have to clear a laser with a thermal, so I can run it at my preferred height, which is 193. It is the same system. So going to the front, we have a Hux Flow 762 Ti. So this is their titanium model. Again, this is my race gun. It's a little bit lighter. I'm not worried about shooting titanium in the dark because this isn't that gun for that. Up here I have on a Arisaka mount, a little bit closer to the top, I have an OKW mod light, weapon light, still with a clicky cap. I'm not going to run a pressure pad unless something new comes out that is very reliable and won't fail me. The same thermal heat pads, the same hand stop position, everything is the same moving back. My Faro QD sling mount is in the same position. Working our way back here, it is another Castle 193 acro footprint optic mount for my optic itself. And this is that special cat that we're testing for LS that is a new version of their Pandora. We'll talk about that later, but it's the same thing. Going back, I have the same Shy burn-proof gear sling. Obviously some sponsors are on this one because again, this is a flamboyant race gun to have fun. It is getting burned in, so I have some stickers just to shout out the homies at Gun Butter, shout out the homies at Castle and LW and everything else. You'll notice on this one I have a magwell that's external put on this gun just for speed reloads when needed. And I have a pink paint on a piece of tape that I can remove and change colors depending on what we're doing. But it's another thing for my eyes to fixate on when I'm performing reloads. Again, I go from a small spot on the target to a small spot of performing a reload, and then I go right back. This is the same Geisley trigger that is on my work gun. This is their race trigger, flat face, I love it. I have the Magpul K2 grip, same as my work rifle. And then going back here, the only difference is I have the Magpul SL stock on this gun. I wanted it slimmer and lighter. I just wanted to save some weight. Again, it's a race gun. I want it to be racy. And that pretty much covers this gun. There's nothing else to it. It is very special as in the engine that runs it, but when it comes to what goes on this gun for competition and for training, I don't need all the resources. Just the gun, the dot, a sling, and a light, and we're banging. So something that's funny that pops up every time I discuss these two guns together, guys kind of get freaked out by this. They're like, why are you training with one and then working with another? That's counterintuitive. You should be training how you fight. They're both trained on. I don't need this setup duplicated over here to perform and function and train the skills of shooting. My connection, my vision, my eyes, and my movement are trained dry and on the range. To do so, I just need the gun. To train the performance of this gun, I only need this gun. I don't need the resources and accessories on the gun to perform those skills or to train them or demonstrate them. So when I am just teaching rifle performance, it's on this gun. When I'm teaching night vision performance, yeah, this gun's going to be used because it has the resource of a laser or thermal. When I'm working, this gun's coming out. But the same skills and foundations that are applied with this gun hand over to this one because my connection to my gun doesn't change. The optic is just slightly higher. If that derails you as a shooter, that you cannot perform the same with these two or with just different optic heights, you have a skill issue to address. Your connection should support your vision at speed. That's it. And if those deter you, then you should reevaluate the optics you're using, the optic height you're using, or the rifles you're using. But for me, the focus is competition. I don't need anything on this but exactly what I need, which is nothing. A light and a suppressor every once in a while. For this one, it is set up for work, but it is a doppelganger of my gaming rig. That's the only difference. All right, so that is a wrap on these two little beauties. We've talked about the why, how, and when for each one, why I have them set up this way. Now let's talk about ways to set up your belt, or ways I set up my belt for training, for dry fire, for teaching, or for competition. Before we get into the belt setups and things I do for classes, training, competing, and just shooting in general, to settle everyone down on YouTube, all you silly geese sitting down there in the basement, these are dummy mags and dummy rounds. They don't do anything, they can't hurt you. Don't type anything and get Cheetos inside the keyboard. Just settle down. It's not loaded. Okay, so this is my limited optics and open division belt. Obviously, I don't have to have my rifle mag carrier on this thing when I'm competing in that division because it doesn't have its place there. But this is the same belt for when I run 2-gun or 3-gun or something like that, or just a rifle competition. So something I'm gonna do is take my magnet off. This is what I typically do. And that is throw on my rifle mag carrier in the position I prefer it. Just like that. Now it's in the front of the belt like so, facing almost horizontal, slightly upward. That's how I have mine set up. This is what I would do for competitions or when I'm teaching a 2-day class that happens to be handgun and rifle, not just rifle performance itself. When it's just rifle, I don't have to have this whole belt around me. I can be more relaxed, more casual, and have less stuff on me. A lot of times I'm going to take the whole belt and kind of toss it away, and I'm just going to have the rifle mag carrier in a dump pouch put on my belt. How do I do that? Well, my inner belt that I carry every day is this belt right here. This has loop on the outside of it. I just simply take my mag and put it over the belt that I'm carrying that day, and I clip it in. Once I clip it in, now I can teach my class just like this. I have nothing else on. I don't need it. I have a dump pouch that I put on the back, and then I have my rifle, and then I have my mag. Now I can perform my reloads, teach my reloads, anything that be required as a supplement to refeed the gun. It's just like that. So if I'm dry firing at my house and I don't need my belt, this is what I'm doing. If I'm teaching a rifle specific class, this is all I have on me. Because it's very comfortable and I'm a little bit lazy. I like this, it's faster for me. Now, something that gets discussed a bunch online whenever people see my rifle setup is the position and orientation of my rifle mag. This stemmed from the work side we all traditionally had because we've always seen it this way. That's the only way we've been taught. It's just the way we've always done it. We've had our rifle mags in this position up here. Well, when you run a plate carrier and you lean, that immediately pinches you or pushes up against it and it stops your mobility, especially in and out of vehicles, which is kind of like our MO. So that became a problem. I started exploring where I could put it and I ended up putting it in the front, almost a 12 o'clock position, almost level, slightly upward. That became something like, oh wow, now I have no mobility issues. You can look at my duty belt on the YouTube video on our channel and see that whole setup, but it comes down to performance as well. My position from here to here became much faster grabbing this mag than reaching my body and grabbing one from the left side. Now again, that's just me. That doesn't mean you have to have it that way, but for me, it's faster going from my rifle connection straight down and straight back up than it would be going from the side and then coming back up. And then you're gonna have that one dude saying, but what about prone, my prone? I can still lay prone. This does nothing to my position or connection with the rifle having my mag here. And then you may yell, oh, well, what about reloading from there? That's fine. If I'm in the prone position and I have to perform a reload from the side, for some reason I'm laying flat, reloading from my side of my belt, then I simply have to move my body, grab the mag, and come back up. Same thing is going to happen. If I am prone and have to reload for some reason in the less than 0.001% that I'm ever going to be on my stomach for my rifle, I would just simply lean and pull the mag out and then start shooting again. But I'm not set up for that less than 1%. I'm set up for everything else. The general principles of what I do, the why, how, and when for what I do is what dictates my setup. Number one focus is the performance. What is fastest? Going from my connection on the rifle to the mag, is this position for me? If you want to try it, go explore it, mess with it. I really like it. It's really quick for me. See if it helps you. So on this belt right now, I have the warm fuzzy pattern. This is the Overt Series 2011. So this is for the Vanta, and these are for the 2011 mags. I have 3 of those, and then 1 of the 5.56 rifle mag carriers. Again, it's the Overt Series on Tech Lock that has all the Velcro needed for all the belts. This, and this all play a role when it comes to connecting just to the inner belt or the outer belt that connects back to the inner belt. I love them, they're the best, and there's no question about it. Well guys, that's it. I hope this helped you. Again, it was just a deep dive into my rifle setups and the why behind them, and then the setups I use on my belts for training, for dry fire, for teaching, and for competition. Just a little glimpse at it. If this helps you, awesome. Check your setups, vet it, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, not a big deal. Guys, at the end of the day, run what you like and what you want. No one else's opinion, including mine, matters. The only thing that does matter is the performance of the task. If you have any questions regarding my setups or the equipment and the ways I run them, it is at Stuffs and Pews on Instagram. If you have any questions on TXC's products like my overt carriers or my covert carriers or however else I have those set up, it is at TXC Holsters on Instagram. Remember, be loyal to your wife, eat a lot of steak, drink a lot of Ghost, repent and turn to Christ because He is King. Be safe out there.